Well, first of all, welcome to Rehab Power Hour Assessments. Really glad you could be here with me. So would you mind maybe just give me a little bit of background and tell me how things are going with you?
My stroke happened less than a year ago. I was 32 at that time. Of course, I wasn't expecting a stroke to happen so young. I have a baby, which I can take care of. Makes me cry. Sorry.
It's okay, Nadia.
I had three huge strokes happen on the right, the left, and the cerebellum.
Okay.
The doctor said I'm lucky to be alive, but that's it. So far, I've seen improvement of my walking because all my right side was paralyzed. On my right side. My walking, I started to walk since I wasn't able to at the hospital.
Okay.
I still have trouble walking. It's not easy. I still have no movement on my hand. I'm only able to close my fingers, but I'm not able to open them. I'm able to lift my arm on the side, but I'm not able to straighten my arm or move it without holding one side of the arm. So it's not easy.
Yeah. Well, Nadia, from everyone, we are so glad that you're here. And I'm sure your family is very glad that you're here. And I'm sure that every other stroke survivor and their care partners are right there with you. We know it is not easy to do neuro-rehabilitation, and so it is a long process. But we're here to support you in any way we can. So anything we can do, I think that's we will do our best. So so first of all, thank you so much for sharing that, and I think my main goal is to be helpful for you. And if that's answering questions, happy to do that as well. I'm also happy to jump in and work with you with your Motus hand to see if we can make sure that you're going to get kind of the best out of it that you can. I think you're in a good position with respect to, trying. For me personally, I always say that when's the best, when someone asks me, is it good for me to start my rehab now? And I always say the best time to start is right now. Because we can't control what happened in the past right now. That's already done. Let's try to just make sure that we have the best options going forward to help maximize your medical recovery. So I think with respect to you specifically, I think it's good that you're starting your less than a year post stroke. While there's a lot of evidence that says that chronic stroke survivors can still improve, I think that is a big area that I will until presented with any data to contrary that or to refute that, I will defend that. And I think so much of what my personal work was to focus on improving individuals who are greater than 6 months post injury. So I think you're in a good position trying to take as many options as you can to improve your upper extremity function. So with that being said, what can I do to be helpful for you today?
Well, I want to make sure I have it set up right, that I have the enough strength or whatever. Because
Sure.
I'm able to move my hand down, my wrist down, but I'm not able to pull it up.
Understood. Well, Nadia, let me just let you know that, again, based on what Dave was saying earlier, I think it's really important for people to understand what's going on too. And I don't know if your experience in the medical world has given you this insight, but I'm happy to provide that for you here. It's very, very common. I think it's probably more common than not to have that same sort of presentation where it's much easier for us to flex down in the upper extremity as opposed to extend. So very common, very, very common. And there's a number of reasons why this is the case. And it comes down to some of the biomechanics, the way our muscles and our neuromusculoskeletal systems are kind of structured. as well as the way that the stroke actually impacts the coordination of those things. So it's very, very common to have that experience. And this is one of the explicit reasons why we designed the Motus hand, to help with that opening process of the extension of the wrist and of the fingers. So that's a reason why the black shroud here on the back has that muscle to help us overcome that. It's almost like you can imagine a tug of war between our flexors and our extensors. And after neurologic injury, after a stroke, the flexors are kind of, they got a lot more people on that side of the tug of war, and they're kind of winning that battle. And so the Motus hand here kind of provides some backup to help normalize that relationship, so it can kind of help overcome that. So I'm very much want to let you know that is a very common experience. Now, with respect to the kind of positioning, all those sorts of things, I would very much like to go through and check to make sure that you got everything set up for you. So I think it's absolutely critical. So I'm really glad you cued in on that. It's absolutely critical to make sure that we have things set up correctly so you can get the most out of it. Yeah. So let's go through that really quickly and just check. So I don't know, I can see you perfectly fine, but I can't really see you and the Motus hand. So would it be possible to tilt the camera down a little bit so I can take a look at what's going on with you?
I can see the camera. I don't know what it points or anything.
That's okay. That's okay. I can kind of see your head at the bottom half, and then I can see the, oh, there we go. That's better. Okay. That's great. So a couple things I want to point out here, and you can kind of walk through this with me. So if I put mine on, and I'll be putting it on my right side like you would have it on. With respect to how to put it on, it looks like you've already put it on correctly, which is great. A couple things I want to mention is, so I've got a little band here, my little ID. One thing I want to mention is, imagine we have to get our wrist aligned appropriately. So imagine like this is kind of about my my wrist where I'm bending. We want to make sure this is lined up appropriately. So this, imagine drawing a line straight through this, and this needs to be through that joint. And imagine drawing a line between these two circular joints on the Motus hand. If those two things intersect, we're good. Okay, so that's the first thing. The next thing I want to make sure we're doing is actually having good coverage over our fingers to help to make sure we don't pull out of it. So I hope that the instructions were informative and we're able to kind of walk you through this process, but this is something I want to make sure that you're good with. So if you can't really see the tips of your fingers, we might need to consider kind of modifying this slightly. But does all this look familiar to you? Are you okay with the setup so far?
Yes. I watched the video at the beginning of the setup when I.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. And the other thing I want to mention too, it's really important, is you were talking about your shoulder and making sure, we want to make sure that's safe too. So I don't know if you had subluxations in your shoulder, but that's all. Oh, great. Very good. Even still, we want to make sure that your shoulder is safe and supported. So the other thing I'm going to mention is when we are actually kind of using the Motus hand, we want to make sure that we can actually achieve the full ranges of motion. So when you're using it, you need to be off sort of an edge or use the foam to have a perch so you can actually go down into flexion and fully up into extension. Okay. And I saw the way you were kind of using it, you had your arm bent kind of across your lap. Totally fine. I'm very happy with that posture. I think it's good because it's more kind of functional where we have our hands in this sort of working space in our center. So very good there. I think you were off to the races in terms of the setup.
Sure.
Okay. So the next thing we can do to make sure things are going well is we can go through and do a quick assessment to see, evaluate the ranges of motion and try to optimize those as well as the assistance percentage to make sure that you're getting as much help as you need, but not too much so you become dependent on it.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I can see that you're on the telehealth screen right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then go ahead and press the assessment button for me. Okay, very good. And then what number do you see on the left-hand side?
On the left, minus 2435.
Great, and it's moving around a little bit, and that's okay.
Yes.
That is actually the range of motion that you're at right now. And so negatives are not bad. They just tell us that we're in flexion. So whenever it goes into extension, it'll go positive, okay? Just to kind of help orient you to things. So also that number in the center that's currently a 0, that will change as we go through the ranges of motion today. So you'll see that go from 0 to 100 at some point. Okay?
Okay.
Very good. So first things first, I'm going to ask you to try your best to go up as far as you can into extension. Like I said with Dave, there's no right or wrong answers. Just do the best you can. Okay? What we'll do is have you go down as far as you can. And we're already pretty close down to the extension or the flexion values, so that's okay. We'll start from here. Now what I'm gonna have you do is just relax, and I'd like you to tell me, okay, close your eyes. I want you to tell me as soon as you feel the Motus hand move you for the very first time. So don't rely on the sound. That becomes a little bit of an assistance, a little bit of a cheat there. Just let me know as soon as you feel it move you for the first time.
Oh, I already felt the moving.
You did? Okay. Okay.
There I can.
Very good.
Now.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Very, very good. So now you can go to open your eyes and we'll actually go through and do our passive check. So just let me know as soon as it feels like kind of a stretch. Great. Nice movement there, Nadia. Very good. Any problems there so far? Are you still doing, it's still comfortable?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. We'll keep going up. You let me know if at any point it becomes kind of a stretch. Very good. Nice relationship there. You still doing okay there, Nadia?
Yes.
And I know it sounds like I'm probably asking you a lot, but it's because we're not in the same physical space. So it's always just good to communicate. So that's why. Okay. Starting to get a little bit of plateau there. That's okay. Very good. We'll go up here. Great. We'll go all the way up. Now, Nadia, what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to actually take out all the assistance out of this. I'm going to have you flex down as far as you can. So go ahead and flex down for me. All the way down, all the way down. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Very good. Excellent. Okay. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know about you, but that's pretty good. You got all the way back down to flexion. Okay. So I think I've got the data that we need to adjust the settings. I'm going to actually, like I said earlier with Dave, I'm going to actually increase the range of motion slightly because you do have more available range on the top end, which is really good. And we want to have you use that to actually practice in. So I'm going to increase this. I'm going to have you hit the back button on the top left. And just like Dave, we'll go into some of the activities. So go home and then begin therapy for me. And I'm going to go through and I'd like you to start playing some of these activities. And I'm going to watch the data come in. I'm going to go over to Dave really quickly and see how things are going. And I'm going to watch the data from you and we'll make some adjustments in just a second. But let's go ahead and go through a couple of repetitions. If your screen pauses, don't worry. That's just me making an adjustment for you. So you can go ahead and whenever it does pause, go ahead and hit play again.
Okay.
Very good. Okay. And I see those changes did take on your device. So go ahead and hit play for me here. Great. Very good. So then this one, it really, like I said with Dave earlier, this is preparatory. So very good. You're already getting all the way down there. Excellent. Okay. So Nadia, go ahead and do a couple of these repetitions. And I'm going to go over to Dave to see how things are going really quickly, but I'll come back to you in just a moment. Okay.